What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new video as we're set to go ahead and talk about the She-Hulk trailer that officially dropped earlier on today. Not just a trailer, but we also wind up getting ourselves a brand new poster with an official release date for this upcoming August, ladies and gentlemen. So before we know it, She-Hulk will certainly be here, and really we've got 3 full months of MCU stuff to really enjoy, right? June, we're getting the MCU Disney Plus series Miss Marvel. July, we're getting Thor Love and Thunder, the movie itself, and then dropping in August, we certainly will be getting ourselves She-Hulk. Now, this is probably the one MCU series that I have a lot of question marks in regards to. I feel like the MCU has been pretty silent in regards to revealing things to us. This is really our first look at a lot of the series, honestly. We haven't really gotten too many details kind of coming out of it, with the exception of maybe some casting news that we've gotten. So this is our very first glimpse of footage, and also the main lead, Tatiana Maslany, who in fact will be playing Jennifer Walters, and finally getting the opportunity to see what she looks like as She-Hulk. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, while I appreciate the tone and the vibe of this particular trailer, if there is anything that I am concerned about, it probably is maybe just the graphics, the special effects for She-Hulk. There are definitely some great shots in here of her that I'm really fond of. Others, you know, I kind of look at the screen a little bit differently, like the very last sequence that we see in this trailer of her carrying the gentleman to the bedroom, if you will. Special effects wise, it does look a little bit off, a little bit funny, but I guess it's just the idea of having to get used to another green monster in the MCU, right? Getting very familiar with seeing Mark Ruffalo's face really kind of take form of the Hulk. I mean, now I feel like when we look at the Hulk, it is Mark Ruffalo's face. So now that we've gotten somebody else who has those abilities in here, it's definitely going to have me getting used to having to see somebody else sort of in that form. But outside of that, I am going to say this. I do think that this is certainly a risk for Marvel. I am kind of curious as to what this series is going to be. They've kind of mentioned the idea of it being like a comedy law series, which I'm completely on board with. I don't know if we've ever had the MCU really dive into comedy, I guess with the exception of maybe Taika Waititi's Thor, like we are probably going to have in this particular series. So I do look at this certainly as a risk. The MCU always clearly doing something different. There have been a couple of articles that I've even read that have mentioned the idea that when it comes to She-Hulk, some people are worried that it is a little bit of a mess. I'm not going to go so much to say that, because at this point in the MCU, I certainly trust. They really haven't dropped the ball or let me down in any sense of the imagination. And when it comes to the MCU Disney Plus series, I think we're getting the idea that a lot of these series are certainly going to feel unique when it comes to each other, right? So I will be interested to see how Marvel tackles the comedy in here. We did have some pretty funny lines, if you ask me. Like, I love the shot of Jennifer inside, you know, being experimented and tested on with Bruce, and she's got like the buzz saws sort of coming towards her. She's like, I think this is a really good time that I transform, or something like that, right? Like, I probably might die if I don't. I kind of appreciated some of the dialogue that we saw in here, some of the little senses of humor. I don't necessarily know if it's going to go as far as humor was pushed and say something like Peacemaker, but I definitely do think that there is a world in the MCU where we might be able to have ourselves a nice comedic series in here mixed in with a little bit of law. But I am really fascinated to see what Tatiana Maslany is going to bring to the role. I think she's an incredible actor from some of the series that I've definitely seen her in the past, and I do think that this is fantastic acting, or a fantastic choice casting in regards to it. So the MCU is always great when it comes to casting, so regardless of how the script certainly might be, if anything, I know Tatiana is certainly going to nail this particular role and do everything that she certainly can for it. I am going to be fascinated to see what her relationship is certainly like with Mark Ruffalo in here as Bruce Banner. We do see a little bit of a car accident, and I do believe that is part of Jennifer Walters' origin story, that she gets into a car crash, and in order to save her life, Bruce has to give her a blood transfusion, and in turn giving her abilities. So when she says in this particular trailer, you know, family's frustrating, or a frustrating family, I think we can certainly see why, and we've got somebody like Bruce that's trying to guide her in regards to what this whole transformation is certainly going to do for her and really her life going forward, and really opening the doors and questions to, do you want to be a superhero, right? And so it's going to be an interesting journey to see where Jennifer starts in here, to see if by the end of this particular series, if she ends up being the full-fledged superhero ready to be an Avenger type of thing, right? There are more details coming out for this series as well, based off of a press release. I believe this is only going to be 9 episodes long. I think it was originally 10, but they cut it down to 9, so we definitely have that to look forward to. Some really great cameos in here also. We got the opportunity to see the Abomination in here. I believe there's a character named Frogman that pops up very briefly towards the end of the trailer once the scenes start going quicker and quicker. I do believe we also get ourselves a shot of one of her nemesis in here, also by the name of Titania, I believe her name is Titania. I believe her name is the homegirl that just got really buff and like broke through one of the courtroom walls, it certainly looks like. So I think we got a little bit of her in here. And listen, while there are moments of She-Hulk when it comes to the CGI and the look of it that makes me feel some type of way, not super confident in it, there are other shots in here that I was actually a really big fan of, like seeing her push back the buzzsaws, and then even rip the door off of, you know, the experimental lab that she's certainly in. There's also a great shot at the very end too, where she's jumping in the sky, and then as she comes into the camera, it's like she's about to stomp on it, sort of thing. So some really great shots in here. Again, I think for me, it will be the idea of seeing exactly what this series truly wants to be. Does it understand exactly the purpose of itself? And then really the CGI. So I'm definitely going to go into it certainly with an open mind. The MCU really hasn't failed me too much, if you will. I think we've gotten more good than bad when it comes to their Disney Plus stuff. And I think, you know, when they're experimenting with new television shows and, you know, new tones and things like that and new themes, you know, nothing wrong with it. Certainly just need to go in with a little bit more of an open mind. So this trailer certainly didn't floor me, but I am really intrigued, and more intrigued than I certainly was before. And I do like some of the humor that we've seen so far, and I think Tatiana Maslany is certainly going to be a star in the MCU. But listen, guys, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I definitely want to know what you guys think. If anything, I'm kind of hoping maybe Matt Murdock does come by at some particular point in time. You know, in this trailer, we get the opportunity to see that clearly Jennifer is kind of like in her 30s, trying to just live her life, and clearly the idea of her becoming She-Hulk has kind of put a wrench into all of her plans, if you will. The idea here that her job wants her to open up, I think, or be the lead to a superhero law division, that does make me wonder if Jennifer will reach out to other lawyers to help her out. And I do wonder if that opens up the opportunity for, say, somebody like a Matt Murdock to maybe have a very brief cameo in here, maybe even along with Foggy at some point in time. That's me really keeping my fingers crossed. But I'm kind of eager to see what they have in here. There is also, I believe the press release did reference that Wong was certainly going to come back, which certainly makes sense, because I think the last time that we saw Wong outside of Doctor Strange, he was in Shang-Chi with Abomination, I think going through one of their portals. So maybe they went from there to here in She-Hulk, and maybe those are in fact the connective pieces, but we'll definitely have to see. But listen, guys, I want to know your thoughts. How are you feeling about She-Hulk? MCU's been pretty quiet. This is really our very first time getting the opportunity to see anything out of it. When you see this trailer, how does it make you feel? Are you more interested than you were before? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And if anything, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that on our next episode of Hero Report. But until then, do me a big favor, as always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.